I told you last week, if you come for the king, you better not miss.
Greetings and salutations, and welcome to the Odd Coaches Podcast. I am your host, Dr. Keith Adams, and with me today, as I lighten myself up, the unofficial benefactor of the Odd Coaches Podcast, Brian Beaubien, has joined us. Brian, it is always good to see you, and thank you for everything. And Mike and I are smiling more than we should. How are you this evening, sir?
Just happy to be here, boys.
And our favorite team leader, Mr. King, is here. Mike King, how are you, sir?
I'm petty. I'll never forgive the Ravens for beating the Giants in the Super Bowl, so I'm doing great.
All right. And academic and athletic consultant for the CKA Save Project, George Ockert, has snuck in tonight. George, how are you, sir?
I'm good. Glad to be here.
And team captain for life and ready for the rant, Will Cotton. Cotton Man, how are you, sir?
It's been toned down. It's not going to be a rant now. It's just going to be disappointing, but it's going to get told.
All right. In segment one, we will recap the Chiefs and the Ravens. In segment two, we'll take a deep dive with the Lions and 49ers. And maybe if we're lucky, Fowler will sneak in, but it's some game. And in segment three, we're going to talk about coaching updates. That's why we got Beaubien sneaking in. But first, Chiefs, Ravens. Before we get to you, Cotton Man, we have Nostradamus himself. We have the man, the myth, and the legend who last week had a few choice words. George, the floor is yours, my friend.
I told you last week, if you come for the king, you better not miss. And the Ravens missed today. That's basically what happened. I'll tell you one takeaway I have. For Lamar and that offense is very basic scheme-wise. And I say that because the Chiefs were able to basically out-scheme what was going on there. They knew what was coming a whole lot of times. They were in the right place. You saw a lot of the plays that happened that did happen and that they scored on were made totally off of the athletic ability of the Ravens, off of Lamar, Zay Jones, and Odell Beckham, and the tight end. I know those touchdowns. That was their athletic ability. Scheme wise, though, it's pretty basic, and you could see it. I mean, Chris Jones was living in the backfield, and that you haven't seen that happen all year. So the bludgeoning, we're gonna pound the rock, and we're gonna hit you with a couple passes. It just didn't work out for him. Now, late in the game, it worked out because the Chiefs defense started getting tired. But in the beginning, you can't let the Chiefs get out to a lead like that because you're never going to catch Mahomes and the boys. So that's basically that was the story of the game.
All right, Mike, what are your thoughts?
I think the first half, the Chiefs left a lot on the field. They could have been up 10, 14, 17. So the fact that it was so close, was it 7 points? 10?
7.
Something like that. 7. I felt like a big win for the Ravens. In the second half, the Ravens had chances. They left it on the field. They messed up. It was very stark, the difference between playing Houston and seeing how they weren't prepared for the crowd, and then going against the Chiefs team that's like, we play against this every year in January and February, so this means nothing. And they didn't have all the penalties. They didn't make all the stupid plays. The Ravens did. The Ravens made a lot of them. So Chiefs were poised. They got the lead. They just held on to it. They lucked out a little bit that the Ravens made mistakes. I mean, Ravens were more talented. 3 turnovers, 1-score game. They had 3 turnovers to 0, and 2 of the turnovers in the red zone. Ravens easily win that game. A couple of things go a different way, but they made the mistakes. Chiefs didn't. And Mahomes is, I mean, the numbers don't jump out, but he does everything right. Just everything right. Greatness.
All right. Brian, you bring levity all of the time, and I know Will's going to take me in the deep water. So what did you think about the game?
So I thought the Ravens got away from what got them to the AFC Championship game. And I just looked, they only ran the ball 16 times the whole game. And George, you mentioned that maybe it got them worn down. The Chiefs defense got worn down there in the second half. But I feel like if the Ravens stick with the game plan that won them 13 games during this season, they could have gotten worn down a lot earlier than that. And I don't know. I was surprised to see them throwing as much, and Lamar still not effective in playoff games against reasonably good teams. And I don't know why. Like I'm not there. I don't think the Chiefs game planned on defense to take him away. It didn't seem like it anyway. It just seemed like they were able to do it playing whatever scheme it is they determined to play today, but it wasn't specifically targeting him. His best play was catching his own batted pass. Like that shouldn't be the case. You've got the best athlete on the field when the Ravens offense is playing the Chiefs defense, and you didn't utilize him well. So I think that was what surprised me today.
All right, Cotton Man, floor is yours, my friend.
I think everyone in the panel just said basically what I was going to say. Basically, they made a lot of plays on the field. They left a lot of plays on the field, and you can't do that against a good team. They've been kind of getting away with it during the season. They'd have an interception or a fumble, and they'd be like, all right, don't worry about it. We'll get on the team, whatever. To George, what he was saying with their offense being so vanilla, you got to bring in guys. Lamar, as good as he is, if you don't put talent around him, you're not going to win. Even if you put in, that basketball or anything else. Michael Vick, when they actually put a team around him, like in Philly, he thrived. They got to look between themselves and say, are we going to just be developing guys, or are we going to go out and get a real dog that's available and try to win? Because these windows are small, and if you're paying a guy a lot of money, he's got to win right now. I think another thing they did was they brought Mark Andrews onto the field, and that kind of messed up the offense. I know when Isaiah Likely was a lot faster, he splits out as a receiver. So he was able to kind of create that versatility on the sides, on the vertical sides, on the wide side, and they just had the lanes would be open. But now they have Mark Andrews in here. It's all tight. There's no lanes. They can't get through. They over schemed themselves. I think it was something that they look into themselves and say, how did we lose that game? But when you're on the doorstep, you just don't do too much. Just stick what you're doing and go get some dogs. And make that the difference, instead of saying, I've seen this cover 3 before. I've seen this blitz before. I've seen this play that you got. At the end of the day, it's man on man sometimes. And I'm going to get it. And they were getting over them. Like Kelce was killing. Kelce had 11 catches on 11 targets and an early touchdown. Like looked like he was like 3 years ago. Like he looking good. So, you got to look at yourself and say, man, like, am I going to put some money in? Because look, you go in, you gave Roquan Smith money, and look, your defense became immensely better. So I just go out there on the offensive side. And, it's unfortunate because that's not what Baltimore does. They don't go out there and get the big name receiver. They got a guy, gave him $13 million, and he had, three targets, 2 catches, maybe 27 yards, something like that, no touchdowns. But you out here on Instagram with all the cleats on, with all the new, tights on, looking. You had 3 catches and you didn't do nothing.
I knew it was coming.
And then you could have paid D-Hop a little bit more money, and he would have been way more effective than OBJ is. And when they finished the free agents, the trade season, I forgot to get the. When the trades were done after the man, I was so disappointed they didn't get anybody. I was so disappointed at the trade deadline. I was so disappointed they didn't get a team, because I was like, they don't have a squad. They have, like George said, they got one dude who's really, really good, and he overcomes a lot of mistakes on both sides. And it's just like, I don't know, why would you go in? You know what I'm saying? Look at the teams that go in. San Fran goes in. You know what I'm saying? Philly went in. They go get A.J. Brown, go in. Detroit, they went in and they got on Goff. You know what I'm saying? They go get David Montgomery. You know what I'm saying? Who did y'all didn't get nobody, and you got no better. And you lost to a team that's been doing it. They got, Pacheco's better than anybody on the Ravens backfield. Anybody. And he's not even really that good. You know what I'm saying? Kelsey
I
is
am
better
so
than
glad I let him go. That's why I let him go last.
My bad. Man,
All right.
Yeah,
Had to
I don't
get
wanna
that
see it.
therapy out.
I don't want to see it when you hit a rant.
yeah.
That's
Hey,
not a rant.
Keith, I will say this. All right, so they do have talent, and they have a lot of talent, and they have talent on the offensive side. The scheme was bad, and you got to remember when the Ravens are running good, they're running off of play action. They're running out of the pistol where they're doing the read, the response read, and read defensive end. The problem with playing Kansas City is that when Kansas City's so quick strike, that when they jumped up on top of them, the Ravens felt like got that in that we got to keep up with them. And they're not built.
That's not their game. That's not their
They're
game.
not built like that. And they run, and their passing attack is not built like that. Their passing attack is built off of play action. And because of that, you got to the point where it was like, and I think Brian said they only ran 16 times because the Kansas City was like they ain't gonna run today, so we gonna load the box, and so that put it a lot on Lamar and the way their scheme. If you go back and watch it, their schemes are set up with only 2 or 3 receivers. Rarely do they go 4. They go 4 wide or anything like that. They try to split the tight end out. You brought up when Zay was out, they would split the tight end out a little more. But they did that. When they did that, they used that to make running lanes. They didn't use that to throw the ball. So today you saw it. What's Lamar going to do? He's you don't have him. He barely is as a drop back quarterback. They're not running. They're not going to fall for the play action. So he has problems sitting in there.
A banana in the tailpipe.
Right.
Yeah,
So now you're telling him to do something he doesn't normally do, and you got a spy on him. So if he takes off running, somebody's there to chase him to the out of bounds line. So it was like, because I saw it on that triple coverage interception he threw, which was a bad pass. But there was only 3 receivers out on the route, so they were all blanketed. So it was nothing. It wasn't much he can do. So I don't want to hear any more talking about Lamar can't do this or that. It's how they scheme it for Lamar, so he's only playing within the offense he's given.
And they only ran 16 times, but they got more than 5 yards of carry. It wasn't like there was this big 30-yard run. They were getting 5 yards of carry, which, if I'm not mistaken, gets you a lot of first downs. And if you don't like the Ravens' talent, we'll take Zay Flowers. Give it to us.
And for me, and this is coaching.
That kid shut down. He shut down as soon as he made that fumble. He first got the penalty, then he dropped the fumble. He checked out. His whole mind. I was seeing him on the bench. He in there like,
if you're selling low, we'll take him.
So fellas, as I looked at it, I'm always a firm believer that you dance with the girl you brought to the prom. And the Ravens play a certain style, as has been mentioned. And it just seemed, and sometimes as a coach, I did it, that I have to prove to somebody who I don't even know who it is that we can win a certain way. And it just looked like somebody told Harbaugh that Lamar couldn't be a pocket passer. And he was like, watch it, I'll show you. So that's kind of was my take. Was you got too complicated for like no reason, because the Chiefs kicked off to you first. That's disrespectful in today's football. They said go ahead, do it, and
it was almost. I'm about to say it was almost like they felt like if we play our regular game, the clock's going to run out on us because they were always behind. So if you're from behind all the time and you're playing catch up, you got to score. You got to score quick to get back into the mix of things. So if they played their regular game, that 5 yards a clip, 5 yards in a cloud of dust you want to play, it's going to eat the clock up and we're going to run out of time. So then you go what? Then if you go, we might tie it up at the end and we go into overtime, and then Mahomes is going to get the ball and go down and score. So it's a fight right there. It's a fight between. But I wish they had just stuck with the ground and pound and see what happened. But like I said, if you come for the king, you better not miss, baby.
That's a good way to.
They had a great chance. He didn't even go off.
But I got to tell you,
they didn't go.
Somebody said to me today, if you had come into this game saying we were going to hold Mahomes and the Chiefs to 17 points, we're walking out of here with a win, right? That he did it. it wasn't like they were down 35-7. They were they were down 10. Like, you can still play your game down 10. You don't have to, like, you're not down 3 scores. And so that's what frustrated me watching it. I'm like, man, we'll just do you. Don't
Do you? Yes. All right. So when we get back, fans, we'll take a deep dive into the Lions and 49ers. We'll be right back on the Odd Coaches podcast.
The reviews are in for Dr. Keith Adams' book, Finding the Balance, My Personal Journey to Academic and Athletic Success. College professor and student athlete academic expert Dr. Lisa Rubin said, "There is nothing out there like this book, so I do hope people will pay attention and give it a read." Former George Mason standout Folarin Campbell said, "Consider this book an opportunity to work directly with Dr. Adams, just like I did. I assure you that there will be something you can take away that will be useful to you throughout your personal journey." Ryan Waite, a recent college graduate who is a software engineer, said, "I like how the book is based on research, which makes it good for general students as well as student athletes." The book serves as both a memoir to Dr. Adams' 30-year academic and athletic career, as well as an instructional guide to assist student athletes, parents, coaches, teachers, and administrators navigate through the challenges of finding a better balance between academic and athletic success. The book includes over 15 personal stories and anecdotes from Dr. Adams, along with numerous former players and colleagues from a variety of sports and endeavors. You can order your copy at www.ckasaveproject.org. From the main page, simply click CKA Save Project Services and order the Find the Balance book. For more information, contact Dr. Keith Adams by email at cka@ckasaveproject.org.
Welcome back to the Odd Coaches podcast in segment 2. Let's just say it's safe to talk about the Lions and the 49ers. Deep thoughts on this. Mike, go ahead and give us your analysis since you missed out on a potential windfall.
I mean, San Francisco is an impressive second half. First half, they look kind of, Purdy was going to be like, ooh, are they going to get a quarterback? Because the team is obviously loaded. You just put anyone back there, it should be okay. And then Purdy made a couple good plays, Ayuk especially. 400 plus total yards, but looking forward defensively, they almost gave up 400 yards. And San Francisco's defense is supposed to be like the strength, right? And the Lions offense kind of did what they wanted, just a couple bad plays here and there. In the second half, they didn't show up. But 400 yards and you didn't score in the second half. How do you give up 400 yards? It was a strange game.
Good way to say it. George, what do you think, sir?
They got a leprechaun in their shoe. Can a ball bounce any better for them than it did? I mean, let's be honest. I don't want to hear any more about this. Oh, Purdy is this, and he is.
He is a 7th-round draft pick.
No, he played like one. He threw a ball that bounced off the face mask of the defender, and his great receiver made a terrific catch. Detroit fumbles the ball away on time that never usually happens. What I will say for San Francisco, they took advantage of the opportunities presented to them. Not that they did anything great. It didn't show me what kind of what I did find out was that wherewithal that needs to be there for most champions. Detroit has not developed it yet. And how to close somebody out, Detroit hasn't developed that yet. But it's their first time being there. I don't think this is the last time we're going to see Detroit. I think this is going to fuel them. But, yeah, the 49ers are lucky as hell. That's my outtake right there.
2 weeks in a row with that. Brian,
yes.
What are you thinking, man?
I think that Dan Campbell is going to have some accounting to take responsibility for, because there were 2 instances where he had makeable field goal attempts, decided to go for it on 4th down, missed it twice, that led directly to San Francisco touchdowns. And not saying that they would have stopped the San Francisco from scoring touchdowns, but points are better than no points. So, you're looking at a drive right now to potentially put up a game winning touchdown, and instead you're down 10 floundering. So I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me why they did what they did. Potentially statistically that made sense, but from a just football,
damn analytics get you every time.
it didn't. And, so that was.
All right. So, Will, you and I have watched the Detroit Lions grow and develop. Shout out to Art Claiborne and Hood College because he's a legitimate Lions fan. Those guys love playing for him. We have said that for 2 years. What are your thoughts on the game, man?
The game got too big for Dan Campbell. Like Brian said, like, why would you not kicking the field goal when it's 4th and short and rather going for it? But, that's how Dan Campbell plays. If you've been watching all year, like, he's going for, like, man, like, these crazy, like, 4th and 5 or 4th and 4. And, when these are kickable, and, they get them. They get them. But this is the thing that you have to learn and grow as a coach and say, okay, I got to adjust my thinking. I got to grow in terms of things. It's okay. You don't have to punch everybody in the mouth, every down the field, you know what I'm saying? Or maybe play the distance game, put them deep and play that game later. Put that in and put it in your bag, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's something that you could use in the 4th quarter. Why are you showing people out in the 3rd quarter or the 2nd? Like, so I'm just like, it's a learning experience. I hope that's what he comes with that. And he says, that my bad. Like, I was trying to keep our identity aggressive, moving forward, but sometimes, like, when you're driving a Lamborghini or a Porsche, you can't just gun it. You got to brake. Sometimes you got to be agile. Sometimes you got to move. And that's how you're more successful in terms of things. So he'll learn about it. It's great. The identity is there. They're going to get better players. It'll be hard to sell stars over here. Like, hey, come on and play in Detroit. We'll see. But, it's a good take this and move forward to get better next year. And then if that means that you're just in the NFC Championship again, or maybe the divisional round, that's amazing. Look where you guys used to be. So but just continue to grow. Don't get too fancy. Learn from this, and they'll be okay. I think, like George said, I think they're gonna be right back in here next year. If everybody's healthy and everybody's playing well. So, they have nothing to hang their head about. They did an amazing job at last.
They did the best they could.
Yeah.
So just like the Ravens, Detroit looked like a team that was happy to be here and didn't want to break nothing. And Kansas City looked like a team that's been to 6 straight championship games. And San Francisco looked like a team that says, we got this no matter what.
Uh-oh.
So it's amazing with coaching and poise. I sound like Hank now. Play with poise. Just we're fine. Clean up some stuff and we're okay. And I thought Kansas City played a clean game. And I thought San Francisco had a belief that they were never out of it. And that's kind of how they, pulled one out that they probably shouldn't have.
And when you've been doing it, it becomes old hat. So they don't get. I think one of the best stories I heard, Duke Kentucky game where they won it at the buzzer. Grant Hill tells the story that when they came into the huddle right after Kentucky scored, first thing Coach K said to all of them was, "We're going to win this game." So it was already he levitated to everything. He levitated the field and brought everybody down to a calm level at that point in time. Because hell, if Coach believes, I gotta believe. So I think that it's a learn from being there and doing it. But some people are just born with that. So,
and to go with that, George, I'm not a 49ers mark. I'm not a Joe Montana mark. But that story about him and John Candy, and they're about to go score the last touchdown against Cincinnati, and he comes out the huddle and says, "Hey, John Candy's over there." In other words, I'm so cool with this that I can see who's in the stands before we run down and score a touchdown. So with that, when we get back, we're going to talk about coaching moves, and Brian's going to tell us who's going to be the next coach of the Washington Commanders. We'll be right back on the Odd Coaches podcast.
The CKA SAVE Project is an industry leader in advocating for student-athlete, academic, and athletic needs. Through academic and athletic enrichment, the CKA SAVE Project is on the forefront of the issues facing 21st century student-athletes. As student athletes continue to struggle to find a better balance between academic and athletic success, the CKA SAVE Project offers academic and athletic services to support student athlete academic success, including academic skills assessment, academic and athletic consulting, academic monitoring, academic and athletic workshops. For more information or to schedule a free consultation, contact Dr. Keith Adams by email at cka@ckasaveproject.org.
Welcome back to the Odd Coaches Podcast. In segment 3, we're going to talk about coaching updates. We'll plan for the big game next week and make our predictions then. But the Chargers make a move. They hired Jim Harbaugh, and it's Jim Harbaugh. So you already won. It's not John. And over the year, we make some jokes or two about that. Mike, is this a great move or just a good move with the Chargers hiring Jim Harbaugh?
Well, it depends, because the NFL allows cheating sometimes for certain coaches too. So if you go by that, it's a great move. Jim Harbaugh is a loser. He's a freaking loser.
Oh my God!
I hate him so much. He's so bad. He lost the Super Bowl to John Harbaugh. The only guy that can allow John Harbaugh a Super Bowl win shares his genetics. We'll see how it goes.
George, go ahead and talk to this guy, because I set myself up, and that's why I gave it to King, but I didn't know he was going to take me into deep water with that.
What?
George.
You had the last segment. You put Will on last for a rant. Hell, you should have saved Mike for this one. Good God.
Mike had a clip ready.
I know. He had 2 or 3 in the chamber. Good God. That was look, what were they gonna do? It was the best move. All right. He's, even though Mike said he sucks, he has a track record of winning. You're going to a franchise that has not won anything, that has they keep saying he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league, but I've yet to see it. Okay, he's made some terrific throws, but he hasn't won a damn thing. You get the glitz, you get the swag with him as he comes in off a national championship. You can't go wrong with this. I mean, and plus he knows how to rebuild the franchise, because let's not forget, fellas, when he took over in San Francisco was a dumping ground, and he brought them all the way back to the Super Bowl. So, and if you ain't winning, you ain't cheating, Mike. So I'm putting it to you like that. So
I'll give him this. He went to Michigan, where he's the little brother to Ohio State, wins this year. Now he's on with the Chargers. He's going to be the little brother.
That was 4 years in a row he beat him. 4 years in a row.
But now he's the little brother to Mahomes. So we'll see if he can do the same thing. I doubt it.
Right. We're going to totally leave and go back to the East Coast. The Carolina Panthers has hired Dave Canales. Spent 13 years as a Pete Carroll assistant in Seattle before helping revive Baker Mayfield's career as the Tampa Bay Bucs play caller. Will, I lost money this year on the Carolina Panthers in my season-long bet. Is this a good hire in your opinion? What do you think?
No. I mean, people have to remember, Tampa Bay had a squad. Tampa Bay had a good team. Mike Evans is good. Chris Godwin, good. You had Rachaad White, good. He had a good season. So it's different when you have different tools in your box. You know what I'm saying? I make a better meal if I had, pepper, salt, all the accoutrement, maybe some sauces, things like that. But if I get to another cupboard, ain't nothing in all you got is salt. I mean, you're going to get what you're going to get. And they don't really have, the cupboard is bare, So I don't know. Now, again, maybe he comes in and he can sell people to come to Carolina and say, please, come here and draft well and pick a right system. But, your back's behind the wall for any coaches that are coming in the Panthers for a long time, unless, Bryce Young just makes an immense step that becomes, unheard of. You're like, oh my God, like now this guy, like some CJ Stroud, but he don't even seem like he's a regular guy. So, it's going to be tough, but it's a sexy hire. You know what I'm saying? So it gets people hyped. It gets people ready to go. He's always young. He's 42. He's working with the Tampa Bay. So, I get it, but I don't think it's going to be the long-term solution.
But they got the first pick in the draft. Oh.
this owner though, Snyder left the league and he was like, man, I guess somebody's got to be the cruddy dude. So
worst
I'll
owner
take over that. Like, I mean, I can't even imagine. Like, you've scuttled the entire team for the foreseeable future because you've given away all your draft capital and brought in the wrong guy twice, and now you're gonna like this guy's lost before he even starts the off season. I mean, it's tough. It's gonna be a tough sell for him.
Wow. So, Brian, we're going to stay with you. New England made the right hire. Let's just get that out of the way. Gerard Mayo should have gotten the job. Okay. But he's only played and coached for Bill Belichick. And the track record for coaches under Belichick is not that exciting. And one of the things my mentor told me as he kicked me out the door, he said, Keith, you got to go work for other people. You got to see other people do things. And it helped me become a better coach. So, Brian, yes, he should have got the job. So nobody's going to fight that one. But how do you think it's going to go in New England?
I mean, they're not really set up they're not set up great either. They're gonna use their number one pick on whatever the quarterback is that's there, because Mac Jones isn't the answer, and Zappy's not the answer, and so they're gonna use that number 4 pick on a quarterback, and it's gonna be probably the 4th best quarterback in the first round, because I would imagine that the first 3 are gonna go quarterback as well. So you're gonna see, or three. I'm sorry. So 2 quarterbacks.
Jaden Daniels, they'll probably get.
Yeah. So, and then he's going to be thrown into the fire because he's going to be, and he doesn't have a whole lot of
nothing around him. Nothing around him.
So it's going to go the same way that it's going to go in Carolina, except Gerard Mayo is going to have more room to play with because Kraft isn't going to can him after a year or 6 games. And so I think hopefully he's got a chance to build. The only thing that I will say is that all of these other guys who are in Belichick's coaching tree have failed outside of New England. There's a culture in New England that perhaps Mayo can rely upon, that maybe it's a different circumstance there, and he can just keep doing what New England does, assuming that they're able to find another Tom Brady.
Okay. Now, George, I want you to do the Las Vegas Raiders. The players spoke, and the players wanted Antonio Pierce. The last time there was an opening, Mark Davis picked somebody else, and it failed miserably. However, do we really want the players picking? Tell me what you think about the Raiders hiring Antonio Pierce.
So, you remember back when University of Miami was on top of the world and Butch Davis was the coach and they missed the national championship that year, and Butch went and took over the Cleveland Browns, and the players went in and said, we want this guy, and they gave him I forgot his name's skipping right now, but he came in and took them. They went and won a national championship. But the next year, the wheels started falling off. They had that fake championship by Ohio State. We're not going to count that, but then the wheels fall off. So that spark you saw from the players all happened this year, where you saw them playing harder and doing all this stuff. And, we're going to see what Antonio Pierce is about this year when it comes to X's and O. I don't know, because it's the jury's still out. We don't have a clear representation of how good a coach and what he knows and how good he can handle certain situations. We don't have it right now. So this is probably this is another big experiment. It's a feel-good experiment because the players got what they wanted. They got their players coach. They're going to come in. They're going to be all the rah-rah and all that. But just like the rah-rah works in college, but in the pros, it becomes a whole different thing. You lose 2 or 3 games, and then you got people in the locker room talking about, to hell with this. I'm going to get mine because I'm going to get my bonus. So the buy-in is over and done with. So we're going to see what happens with Antonio Pierce. I'm glad he got the job. I mean, they look they looked raw dog them last like 8 or 9 games he was playing. They were hitting harder, they were doing whatever, but that still doesn't show us what he can and can't do. And then again, here we have another situation that still does not replace the biggest hole in Las Vegas, and that's a quarterback. If you're going to run the multitude of dudes out of Hollywood squares out there again like they did last year, you're going to have the same results. So they got to find somebody. So that's where we are with that one.
All right, Mike King, as somebody in the school system, we won't say which one, but nepotism has its way. The Tennessee Titans hired Brian Callahan, son of longtime NFL coach Bill Callahan. He's had some success with, they say he's worked with Peyton Manning. He's probably sitting in the room when Peyton was doing something. They said he worked with Matthew Stafford, and they say he worked with Joe Burrow, and now he's the Titans head coach. Mike, what do you think about that one, buddy?
So no one works with Peyton Manning. He ran the thing himself. So throw that out. Joe Burrow is Joe Burrow. You could throw that out. But when Joe Burrow got hurt, Bengals had every reason to just be nothing, and the backup quarterback was decent. So that's the hope, I guess. In the end, this is a similar problem to what we said about Patriots and the Panthers. You got Will Levis. You could have had A.J. Brown. You got rid of him. Thanks for that, for the NFC East. Yeah, it's a team that's going to completely change their identity, and it's time to change their identity because they were pretty good for too long, and pretty good is pretty much the worst thing you could be in sports. You either better be great or you better be terrible so you can get a guy who'll make you great. Pretty good, So this guy's going to change the identity, and that's kind of what they need. If you look at a lot of the coaches in the league that find success, many of them are defensive-minded guys or offensive-minded guys, and they had a defensive-minded guy and a good defense. And then they would lose games because, their quarterback was So we'll see if Will Levis can be better than that. I don't think so. And I think this guy's going to have to draft a quarterback next year.
He might be my new Cliff Kingsbury.
Next.
All right, Will. The Shalimar hire, second time around for Raheem Morris and the Atlanta Falcons. The Falcons interviewed 14 different people, including Belichick and a couple other folks. Can Raheem get the job done, Will? What do you think?
They have talent. Atlanta has talent. They have a good running back in Robinson. They got, I forgot his name, who's the wide receiver, but he's tough as well. The quarterback is okay. They got Kyle Pitts. The first thing that he even said is, he was healthy, and now we can say, okay, let's start moving forward. I think, he's a lot better than, he's not the next man, phenom, but I think he's a lot better than Gibby is, especially the offense. The coach was not using the players in the right way. I had Bijan in fantasy football, and I was just like, why is he? Some days I'm just like, okay, great. And then I'm like, where they just forget he plays? Like, what's going on? Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, the cupboard isn't bare. He has ingredients. He can make some shake. He just has to put the right pieces around him that works for his team. And, again, at the end of the day, NFC South sucks. So really, if you can go through and get maybe 7 wins, you right there in the mix. You right there. So
yeah. Atlanta was a win away from the playoffs. So
So fans, we really don't care about Seattle. Well, they'll pick somebody. But Brian, close us out. What is the Washington Commanders going to do? Are they going to take the guy from Detroit? What do you think as a longtime season ticket holder? My apologies. What do you think?
It's going to be Belichick.
I hope not Belichick in the least. Going into this whole coaching search, I was hoping for a young offensive-minded guy, like one of the 5 that were on the staff in 2013 who have gone on to success in other places. If Johnson is the guy, I can't be mad at it. I think that it is exactly the kind of coach that I was looking for at the beginning of the search. Whether he's able to, McVay lightning in a bottle, it remains to be seen. But that has to be the way that they're going, given the fact that they haven't made a hire yet. And I think he's the only one that they've interviewed from any of the teams that were remaining this weekend. So if the Lions don't move on, then we'll be, seeing the announcement probably early this week. But I can't ask for a better offseason start to the offseason than what they've shown now. Peters, I think, is going to be able to bring in the talent. And if Johnson is the guy who's going to be leading the ship, then I think it's just the kind of guy that can actually change the culture here that hasn't been able to do that. None of the previous coaches have been able to do that.
Hey, Brian, real quick, Brian, isn't this crucial though? And I looked at it this way because they got rid of so many pieces this year. The ones that especially I'm thinking about offense and McLaren and them. If that coach is not the right fit or things don't work out early, aren't they going to be ready to be out? Because I know he's coming to the end of their contract. Any players they have are going to be ready to roll. So I think it's tough sledding because any pieces they have are going to be ready to be the hell out of town if things don't go look like they're going in the right direction.
You're not wrong, but my counter would be so. It's been 30 years.
Right.
So, I mean, if they have to start over from the ground up,
right.
Right. And fans, I think that is the perfect way to end this. Next week, we will have our full preview of the big game, if you will. We don't want to be sued by somebody who ain't listening. So on behalf of our cavalcade of stars, I'm Dr. Keith Adams saying thank you for listening and or watching the Odd Coaches podcast. And we will see you on the sidelines. Till next time, take care.
The Odd Coaches podcast is sponsored by the CKA Save Project. The CKA Save Project is an industry leader in providing student-athlete academic and athletic support. From assessing student-athletes' academic and athletic skills to measuring and monitoring student-athlete academic progress to improving student-athlete time management and organizational skills, the CKA Save Project provides wraparound services for student-athletes from middle school through college. For more information, visit us on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org or schedule a free consultation with Dr. Keith Adams by emailing cka@ckasaveproject.org. We hope you enjoyed today's show. The Odd Coaches podcast drops new episodes every Tuesday through Friday on most weeks. Make sure you subscribe to the Odd Coaches podcast on Apple Music, iHeartRadio, Podbean, Spotify, and YouTube. Follow the Odd Coaches podcast on Twitter and Instagram at Odd Coaches. Follow Dr. Adams on Twitter and Instagram at CKA Save Project. In addition, follow Coach Mike Francis on Twitter and Instagram at Coach Franchise, spelled Coach Franchize. For more information about the CKA Save Project, please visit them on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org. See you next time on the Odd Coaches podcast.